Hi, in this module we are looking at source code editors. Now what do we mean by source code? Whenever you write a software program, be it in a programming language like C, C++, or Java, or a scripting language like JavaScript, or a markup language like HTML or XML, you write source code. And when you talk about source code editors, we're really talking about a piece of software or an environment where you can write this source code. Now you have basic text editors like you have Windows Notepad, or you have TextEdit. Now what happens is that when you are using TextEdit, let's say this is TextEdit in a Mac. So this is a basic editor, and you don't really, even if you're typing HTML code, like you don't really get any help. But you can still write code in this and save it over here, and that will still work. So these are basic text editors. And then you have your source code editors. And your source code editors provide a more powerful environment. And what they do is that they will provide you color coding for various kinds of tags or commands or syntax or grammar from a particular language, and whether a bracket is open or closed and so on. And with that color coding, it becomes really helpful for you to identify errors that you might have made when you're writing code. And some of these are purely code based, and some of these are are a mix of code based versus what you see is what you get. It it assumes a more layman's kind of an expertise rather than a more coders or programming expertise. Something like Adobe Dreamweaver, where you can have the screen divided into two parts. In one part, you can really write your code in HTML or CSS, and on the other part, you can actually see what is happening as you see it on a web browser. So there are various kinds of source code editors, and we'll look at some of these today. So in this module, we are looking at using text or source code editors to create HTML. So HTML is the focus of what we're looking at right now. So when we think of web design, there are various kinds of web design tools. You have markup languages like HTML, in the latest version, it's HTML5. And then you have web presentation or styling tools, and this is the cascading style sheets that you create. And then for both of these, you need a certain environment to write your HTML or CSS code. So Dreamweaver is something that I just described, and then you have Composer, which is an open source alternative to Dreamweaver. And here, this is more writing code from scratch using HTML or CSS. That is what it facilitates. And even for Dreamweaver, there are free alternatives like Microsoft Expression Web. And then you also need to know some amount of a scripting language like JavaScript, which will help you add dynamic paths to your code. And even if you do not understand the whole of JavaScript yourself, you will find free scripts online that you can download and add intelligently to your HTML to make your code work with. Let's say you want to add some interesting components like having a slideshow or adding a date or time and so on. You can do that using JavaScript code. And when I say reusing code that you find off the web, a lot of the times, even when you work in a software development firm, you don't really need to code everything yourself. Even as you start programming, there are certain libraries and tools that are developed, pieces of code that are developed for you. And when you are working in a software development team, there are people working on one side of the code, and they agree to do a certain thing, and you do a certain thing. And you just really need to know what they're going to provide to you. You don't really need to understand all of what they're doing. And that's in a similar manner that you can again use JavaScript in your HTML. Even without understanding the whole of it, you can really use JavaScript. But in this particular class, you'll have some chance to learn JavaScript at least for 1 or 2 weeks. And then there are other integrated development environments. IDEs again are another name for an environment which helps you create your code. And these again range from open source to paid to simple to complicated. And one example here is Aptana. And there are certain tools which are also available in your web browsers, like Firefox gives certain extensions or add-ons that you can download, which can help in web design to see if how your CSS looks and so on. So there are examples like Web Developer Toolbar, HTML Validator, Firebug, Firepicker, and so on. So let's say if you look at Firefox, right, and then if you go to your tools, add-ons, and go to extensions. And if you search for, let's say, the web development, then you'll find a number of options for web development over here. So your web developer toolbar and so on, and lots of these are the lots of results that you can get for various kinds of tools that are available. And then you need to have your code editors. So there are text editors like in Windows Notepad, or the text edit in Mac. And for a source code editor, you have a more powerful Notepad++, which is highly recommended. And this is a free version, and that's only for Windows. And there's like Text Wrangler for Mac, and there are other alternatives as well. And if you're doing image editing, you would need Irfan View, the Picasa, Photoshop, or GIMP. So when you're deciding to choose a source code editor, you'll have to think of a number of things. What platform are you using the source code editor for? Is it for Windows or Mac or Linux? What features do you want? Do you want to pay or not? All of those are considerations which go into deciding a source code editor. So here you see the Notepad++, which is a Windows-based editor. And let's look at and what you can notice here is that there is a color coding like in for purple and red and blue. So this, and again the parts that you're entering, that's in black. So this can be very helpful to see whether you are forming or writing your code properly or not. So let's look at a simple example using Text Wrangler. So here let's say that if we do like doc type HTML, and then we'll say HTML. And now here you can see that everything that I'm typing is in black. There's no really color help right now. But if I save the file, if I say OK, and let me just save it to the desktop, and I'll just call it test. So okay, suddenly you see the color coding that appears. And let me just have a body out here, even though you have a head in your HTML. And here, let's say we say that, okay, let's put in heading 1. Source code editors are neat, and then we can say I really like them. Something. Now you see that the color is wrong because I added. Here you can see what's happening. This is where it's helpful because I didn't really form it properly, and my bracket is there. But if I remove it, it becomes black, and here it's formed properly. So this is really helpful in terms of whether something is forming properly or not. This P is not supposed to be in black, the closing of this tag. So so here you can see, because of this color coding, you can see whether you have formed your code properly or not. And then I save this, and I can see my HTML file. So yeah, so source code editors are neat. I really like them. They're really helpful. So this is a simple HTML written using a code editor. And there are various examples of code editors. Like for instance, there are those for various platforms. This is a list from 2015. And there is Atom, which again is a simple code editor. It's free, available for Mac OS X, Windows, and Linux. There's Ultra Edit, Sublime Text. Ultra Edit is paid, and then you have Sublime Text, which is also paid. Notepad++ is free for Windows, and it's really nice. And then you have Coffee Cup. You have BB Edit, Bare Bones Edit. So this is actually a more advanced editor than Text Wrangler. And then you have Bluefish. Then you have Brackets. Brackets is really nice because it provides responsive. It supports responsive coding, where you can write code to look neat in various kinds of devices like your phones or tablets, as well as a bigger screen. And then you have Coda and so on. And here there is another list of free and paid software. This is from 2016. And here you have Atom. Atom.io is the editor's choice over here. It's really nice again, and it's simple. Then you have Aptana Studio, Slick Edit, which is a free trial and a paid one. JEdit, it's a free one here, and IntelliJ, a Notepad++, and Scream, and so on. So you actually have a big choice when it comes to choosing source code editors, and it doesn't really matter which one you're using as long as you use one. So download one based on whichever platform you're using, whether Windows or Mac or Linux, and start using that. And if you do not like it, then find a different alternative. But the main important thing is to download one and get used to its workings. So that's all that I wanted to cover in source code editors. It was a very basic introduction, and and I hope you learn more as you play around with it more with any particular source code editor. Thank you.